Welcome everyone. This is IDC Talks Diversity. It's part of the Illinois Defense Counsel. My name is Andres Quinn, and I am the chairman of the Diversity Committee. This is sort of a build-up to a CLE that we will be given involving diversity, and today we're going to discuss issues surrounding women in the legal field. We have an esteemed panel. We have Elena Valterra Darty from Brennan Burtker, Laura Beasley from Baker Sturkey, and Judge Julia Gomrick from St. Clair County 20th Judicial Circuit Court. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Tress.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So diversity, it's a word that's been thrown around a lot lately, say within the last really 10 or 15 years, and there's been a push for diversity and inclusivity in law firms, on the bench, in corporate America. And I'm interested to know from women like you guys in the legal field, how diversity has impacted your journey. So first I'll start with Judge Gomrick. Judge Gomrick, do you see, or how have you been impacted by diversity as a woman in the legal field and on the bench?
Well, I think diversity, whether it be diversity in gender, women and men, or diversity in all aspects of ethnicity, has come into play throughout my career. And fortunately, in my experience, has added to points of view that need to be considered throughout my tenure on the bench, has only added to understanding of where litigants come from, the positions they take, the walks of life that they come from, what they might be asking for. It informs all those decisions. So for me, diversity in all aspects of life have made making decisions from the bench more informed, hopefully better decisions, those types of things. If we speak specifically to gender, it certainly has changed since I graduated law school in 1995, which to me still seems like not that long ago. But when I came out of law school, there were older women who had been practicing, and my understanding and appreciation of them as pioneers and paving the way for not only me to practice with, some pushback, but not a lot, has not been unappreciated by me. Now, I hope that gender is less, if not lesser of an issue for women lawyers and judges.
Great. So what type of viewpoints, you mentioned viewpoints for being a female judge, and some viewpoints that maybe you can offer that maybe a male judge would see differently. What are some examples of that?
I have been in different assignments, judicial assignments. I guess an obvious one might be my handling of divorce and family cases. Although I think that parenting roles and traditional parenting roles have changed so very much. I guess, maybe you should be asking some men that, how they've seen it change. But I feel like, my parents' marriage, a traditional stay-at-home mother who didn't work, raised me. And certainly there with my dad, who did work full-time. But there are just parental roles that are not as traditional, I suppose I should say. So certainly I have ruled, I try to rule regardless of gender in all cases, but especially in family cases, I have certainly given primary parenting to many fathers. But I will say that women's roles in rearing children and parents' roles in rearing children, if they're hands-on, I certainly can understand what that is as a mom. And so that would be one reason that the point of view would come into play, I would imagine.
Thank you. Elena, being a female attorney as well as a minority, what role has diversity had in your legal career?
Well, as Judge Gomerick said, in the field of litigation, having different points of view has been extremely helpful. Working in a diverse workplace, when you're working up a trial, getting ready to present a case to a jury who's most certainly going to be diverse, you're able to collaborate, to listen to different people's ideas, and hear different people's perspectives when they come from different walks of life. So it has been extremely helpful getting more of an insight to, how certain themes for our trials or our cases or different ideas, presentations are going to play out in front of a jury. As just a lawyer and a human being working in an office, diversity has impacted me greatly in terms of having people who are, who look like me, or who, are also going to, be mothers or are mothers, and have, some sort of role in a family that, women usually have. Being around more female attorneys has been extremely inspirational, seeing how women do it all, how they run their households and their families, and do pick up and drop off, but are also extremely invested in the litigation process and are extremely talented lawyers. It's been extremely inspirational for me to be able to watch that, and also just talk to these women and see how do you do it all, and how do you balance these things. For example, with Laura, I know Laura has children, and it's been great working with her on the IDC Diversity and Inclusion panel group, just hearing stories about her raising her kids and doing the IDC, and then also being an extremely accomplished litigator. So I would say that that's been the main impact for me as a person, just having diversity in the workplace. It's really inspirational.
Have you had any obstacles you feel that were the result of you being a woman or female attorney, or maybe minority woman, female woman attorney?
Sure. Of course, there are obstacles. There have been obstacles, especially when I first started. I was very young when I started in litigation. I believe I was 25 when I went to my first deposition, and I walked in, and all the litigators were older men. They were all male partners at their firms, and I was really young, and they assumed that I was the paralegal at my firm and asked me to get tea for everybody or water. I had to correct them, and there have been several similar instances like that, where I get mistaken for a court reporter, or an assistant, or something of that sort, which I just try to put my best foot forward and explain to the other litigators in the room that I'm actually an associate, here to take the deposition of their client or whatnot. So there's certainly been obstacles. I think the best way that another female attorney taught me how to handle those situations was to ask the attorneys in that situation to correct them and say, I am the litigator, or I'm the attorney who will be taking this deposition, but also ask them why they assumed that, and not in a rude way, but just in a curiosity way, just so that they're more aware of their assumptions and their implicit biases, that they can kind of have more self-awareness, and maybe they'll think the next time before they make that sort of assumption, just to be more considerate and more respectful of everybody involved.
I'll throw this out to the panel, and Laura, I'll definitely get back to you on how diversity has impacted you, but I want to throw this out while we're on the subject. What advice would you give to younger attorneys who are women who encounter situations where they're not treated maybe civil or just outright rude because they are a woman? How do you handle those situations? Go ahead, Laura.
Well, it does happen. And when you are treated rude, or, maybe they call you honey in court or whatever they may deem the term okay, you just have to correct them. If you don't do anything, then they don't realize it's not appropriate. But you try to be as civil as you can when addressing it too. I've had male attorneys kind of puff up their chests and do the intimidation because I'm a tiny person. So, try to hover over me and use a loud voice. Well, me being loud isn't going to help if you just try to, as calmly as you can, say, would you please, step back a little bit, or, I would prefer you address me in a certain way, as politely as you can, is about the best way to handle it. Getting upset or yelling back, or, maybe being uncivil isn't going to help anything. And it makes the issue worse, because then now you are titled something else. So you got to be careful.
Ms. Gomery, how about you? How would you advise a younger attorney to deal with those difficult situations?
It would be advice that I would give to any attorney, but it is the most, it is the best retaliation or weapon against something like that. It's being prepared. Be prepared, be on your game at all times. And sometimes, we're not on our game all the time, but if you are prepared, if you've read every document, if you have your case law, if you are prepared to address all the issues in the hearing, just be as prepared as you can. I agree with Laura, you have to be as civil as you can back, and really kill them with kindness is sometimes very hard to do, but it disarms people. I use that tactic in court quite a bit. When people are heard, validated, certainly when they treat you in a way that they shouldn't, you don't want to validate that, but I agree to be civil back, and then show them you're capable, show them you're smart, show them you're prepared. That will earn their respect that they should have given you from the get-go, but it will certainly ingratiate you to them. If not, then, there are other issues in play that maybe won't be cured by their realizing that they have an implicit bias and might have to be addressed. I hope not. Typically, even litigants that appear in my courtroom and behaving appropriately can be disarmed with civility, allowing them to at least have a say, those types of things. But I just think being prepared, showing them that you're a capable, well-prepared lawyer is the best response to that.
Great point, great point. So Laura, has diversity impacted you in any way? You've been practicing for probably longer than I have at this point. So it's been over, 15 years at least, right?
Yeah, so are you calling me old?
No, not at all, not at all, not at all.
That's another talk.
No, not at all. So the point is, you probably have seen this diversity thing grow and gain wings, and just want to know from your viewpoint, how's diversity impacted you?
It has impacted me, and yeah, it's been over 20 years now, so time flies. But when I started, it seemed to be fewer women in leadership roles. I mean, there were only 2 female judges at the time, and so there were fewer women in leadership roles, but the ones that I was fortunate enough to know were wonderful, and they were very helpful. And I'm not so sure it's the same for all genders, but women seem to, at least in my experience, want to help you, okay, this is a roadmap, these are things you have to do. So in that viewpoint, I think, or in that, in those situations, I think it's been helpful to be a woman, because women seem to reach out to each other and try to help. But as far as, maybe not getting trials I wanted because I was a female, and, and they didn't think I could handle it, or they would put a male second chair on it, you know, just to make sure, you know, those kind of things were a little bit of a pain, but you just have to deal with it. I mean, trial experience is trial experience. So, and, you know, like I said, I've been called sugar in court, or, you know, court reporter. I just got court reported by another attorney 2 months ago when I walked into a deposition with just my briefcase. We all know what a court reporter brings to a deposition. And this attorney and I have been emailing back and forth the whole time. It only makes me giggle a little bit because it's an employment law case based on diversity issues, which made me giggle a little bit, but it still happens. And I just corrected it on, and I'm like, no, I'm Laura Beasley. I'm, you know, defense attorney on the case. I'm not a court reporter. And then he, you know, stumbled backwards and, oh, I'm so sorry. And he wasn't even in, by his appearance, he is not of the age group where I expect that anymore, but it still happens.
Sometimes I will ask them to repeat it, even though I've heard it, because if they say it again, and unless you're in front of a jury or some, you know, something like that, but I'll, you know, not in a rude way, but say, oh, I'm sorry, what? And if they say it again, or they're forced to say it again, they realize, oh, okay, I have fallen in, into a statement that I didn't mean to make. I'm now realizing that. And if they do repeat it, then that's an issue. But sometimes if you just innocently, not so innocently ask them to repeat it, they might retract.
The old passive aggressive way of handling things.
Right. I'm gonna throw out this last question to the panel. What can the legal profession do better in regard to what you encounter, what your experiences has been as female attorneys? Anybody can take that.
That is a good question. I don't know if I have answers.
I'm not sure if I have one either.
Okay, somebody needs to answer this.
Well, I think that you know, whether, you know, I think that this is applicable in so many different areas, but when people, I mean, it was just like what Elena said, when people see themselves or someone that looks like you, whether it be gender or have a similar background of any kind, and they see themselves in that person in leadership roles, it helps. And it does change people's implicit bias. I hope it does. And I do think that we all benefit from all these different points of views because, you know, it makes better decision making. Everyone's lives are not the same. Everyone's backgrounds are not the same. That is almost without question a good thing. We can make more informed decisions. We can make better strategic decisions for our clients, give better advice without assumptions that can really, you know, tie some hands behind your back, I think. Because if you assume that everyone lives like you, came from backgrounds like you, has the same points of view, you're not seeing the whole picture. So I think it just can only improve everyone's ability to represent their clients, represent themselves in court when we have diverse people that we work for, work with, appear in front of. You know, you could extend this out to really any aspect of life, in my opinion. I think diversity is a good thing for opportunity, but I also think it's a great tool to make yourself better in your work life. I 100% believe that. So I think that the more diverse we are in every aspect of the law, it only benefits everyone under the law.
And I'm going to have to agree with that because and I think it does go to your own life as well. I mean, you know, without seeing other people's point of view or meeting other people who are not like you or from different backgrounds, it opens your eyes to things you've never thought of. And so I think it carries even further than just our work life. I think in your life in general, you're better served by surrounding yourself with a diverse group of people.
Agreed. I mean, I want to experience all that life offers, and certainly that includes ideas, places, people I don't know or didn't grow up around, and I think that only makes everyone better.
Well, I think that concludes our discussion. I want to thank each and every one of you for attending. I hope that people can get something from this positive. I know I did. So thank you guys, and we are signing off. Until next time.